Man, I am so glad you guys are here. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. And especially that local band right here makes it big. You got national. Very cool. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks.
Now, you got everything you taken care of?
Yeah, we're
okay.
good.
Excellent, excellent. Letter black. Yeah.
How big is big?
Well, let's put it this way. You know the label Tooth and Nail? They're on it.
Oh,
in fact, they nailed it.
Yeah, I heard of Tooth and Nail. Hey, you think they need a keyboardist?
I don't think so. I do know what they do need, though.
Singer, songwriter. Songwriter, that's it. Right.
No, I know they've got some more equipment out there they need to load in, and maybe you can give them a hand.
Always a roadie, never a star.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Tim, I want to know why Shenanigans is closing.
Shenanigans isn't closed. I mean, it's too early.
I'm telling you, man, I wanted to make a delivery over there, and this big sign that says we're closed. I mean, I wonder what Bill did now. I bet you know what, Shenanigans is going down.
No, come on. You know Phil. I mean, I'm sure he's on vacation or, he's always working some kind of angle.
I don't know. I'm starting to get worried, man.
I wouldn't worry if I were you.
Well, you know what? I still got to take these back to the warehouse now.
Okay.
Hey, notice you got music tonight, huh, Tim?
Yeah, man. Great band. The Letter Black. Man, good. You know, it's good listening. You need to hang here.
Can I stick around? I could listen while I'm unloading.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
All
Go
right,
ahead and
cool.
enjoy. It'll be a good time. Drew, I am so glad. Sorry, life is busy here, and
Sure.
I'm glad to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
FunFest is your birthday party capital of the world. Our party packages are so much fun and exciting that we call them Funfestic. Let the expert staff at FunFest create a lifelong memory for that special someone in your life. We offer packages for children, teens, and adults. We also specialize in group events ranging from 20 to 300 people. Book your next birthday party or group event today. Call us at 412-828-1100 or reach us online at www.funfestcenter.com.
Did you know that 95% of Christian parents do not send their children to Christian schools? One reason parents often give is that they want their kids to be salt and light. A noble idea, but consider that they have the rest of their lives to be salt and light. What they need now is an education where they can learn, think, and learn how to think in an atmosphere where their worldview is supported, not ignored or run down. Give them that, and their light will shine. Visit PittsburghChristianSchools.net and step up to Christian education.
Remember when paying attention to detail was important to building things that last? At Omega Home Improvements, we believe that your siding deserves that same attention to detail so it too is built to last. We specialize in a foam back insulated panel that features 5 times the energy efficiency and is 4.5 feet longer than other panels used on homes today. We're Omega Home Improvements, doing it right from beginning to end.
Check it out. New to you kids features retail clothing for children. Many of our items can be found in high-end boutiques. We provide quality clothing and excellent service and specialize in dressing your children from head to toe for weddings, graduations, holiday wear, and pageants. We recognize that you want your children to look their very best. Therefore, these clothing lines are unique and fashionable. New to you kids is located at 2405 Sawmill Run Boulevard, Route 51 in Pittsburgh.
I mean, I read a book a while ago called Unchristian.
Sure.
And, really powerful book. This is talking about not the unchristian, but the people that were raised in the faith, the 20-somethings that were raised in the faith and are heading out the door.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
Wow. I think there are a lot of reasons, kind of, cultural and societal reasons that are maybe fueling this trend. But really, at the end of the day, I think we need to take a look in the mirror as Christians and say, why is it when these kids that were raised in the church, active in youth group, when they go off to college or out into the world, why are they disengaging from the church at such a high rate? And I think in many cases, I'm afraid we've kind of failed to model and teach them a dynamic faith, and to also give them the kind of biblical basis for their beliefs. So one statistic that I ran across that actually comes from that book that you referenced was this, that 65% of the young adults in this country report making a decision for Jesus Christ at some point. Well, I don't think any of us would say that 65% of young people could be described as authentic followers of Jesus. And so we've done a great job of getting people to, say a prayer or sign a pledge, but on the follow-up discipleship, that's where I think we've dropped the ball.
Man, it is so tough, especially, I pastor a church as well as run this coffee shop, and you see that generation, and they do go off to college, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? So I want to know, okay, I've got two problems then, Drew. I've got one problem, it's like, okay, how do I reach the kids before they reach that age and take off to keep them in the church, I mean, it's not necessarily I want to keep them in my church. I want them to have a strong faith wherever they end up after college, wherever they, I want them to keep that faith. But, okay, I've got this whole group now that are kind of anti-church in some ways. And how do I reach them? I mean, what are they like?
Yeah, well, I for this book, I sought out dozens of mainly 20-somethings that had made the decision to walk away from their faith. And I spent hours listening to their stories, and it was really enlightening. I encountered a lot of cynicism, because when you have someone that has been in the church, really considered themselves, a part of the fold, and then they walk away, they have barriers to coming back.
Is it just the hypocrisy thing that we hear all the time, where it's, there's so many hypocrites, the church is full of hypocrites? Is that what it is?
That's part of it. That kind of stuff came up often, and I think that's maybe, one of the most toxic things to young people's faith, if they see their parents or people in their church that profess to know Christ and yet live a lifestyle or act in a way that is very contrary to the way Jesus was. That's really corrosive to young people's faith. So that was one thing for sure. And often they've had some sort of really negative experience too. So when they grow up, God kind of becomes guilty by association, and they kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. And then others just have honest intellectual doubts. They
get challenged in college
with, exactly. Most people don't realize, when you sign up for college, you sign up for a systematic attack on your faith often. And someone goes off to college, and all of a sudden, here's the smartest person they've ever met, their professor, belittling Christianity or undermining it in some way, and they think, well, if this person thinks that Christian faith is a bunch of garbage, maybe it is. And so doubts creep in that way, and if they don't have that solid basis, if they don't know why they believe what they believe, they're very vulnerable at that point.
So we haven't done a good job inside the church. We haven't done a good job in training them. The idea of kind of setting the kids off separately and the Wii and the Nintendo, and that's their church experience is not such a good thing.
That has...
excuse me.
Oh, hey, no problem.
Hey, I need to get one of those big orange extension cords, heavy duty.
Oh, yeah. I think back in the storeroom on the left-hand side, there should be a big orange extension.
All right, cool. And I also need to take my breaks. Need to go home and get my piano because I'm going to sit in with the band. Yeah.
I don't think it's such a good idea. Remember what happened with About a Mile? That didn't really work, and I really don't think it's going to work with The Letter Black.
Well, I mean, we'll never know until we try. I mean, Louis, cover me. Come on, man. We have to try this out.
Marcus, no more auditions, man. It's just take care of the customers. Get the work done. We got a whole house here. Okay, you can take a break when you normally do.
What the heck is going on? You ordered all this stuff, and I went over to deliver shenanigans. There's a big sign that says we're closed. What's going on, Phil? Phil, excuse me. What am I supposed to do with all this stuff? I can't get into shenanigans because it's all locked up. What's going on?
Yeah. Look, I know. I'm as surprised as everybody else, okay?
What do you mean, Phil, you're surprised? Everybody's, known for a long time now that you're having problems with the IRS.
Look, like I said, that was just merely a misunderstanding.
Yeah, misunderstanding. Yeah. But all I want to know is, what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? I'm going to have to take it all back to the warehouse. What am I supposed to do, Phil?
Joe, I'm busy, all right?
Oh, you're busy.
Modern levers? What is that?
Well, modern levers, as I did these interviews with ex-Christians, I tried to identify the primary reasons they left, and I saw some categories emerge, and that was one of them. Modern levers, these are people who they believe that truth exists, but they just reject Christian faith as the sole place for that truth. They believe that only the things that can be scientifically verified or discovered, those are the only things that matter. So you've probably seen a lot of this with the new atheists, for instance. these guys that write books for a popular audience like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens. And that's actually had a very strong impact on the younger generation, especially young men for some reason. They've really been influenced by this.
The church isn't, a lot of times is very feminine and doesn't really go after this is why. I mean, this generation, from my point of view, is always wants to, when I grew up, it was like, okay, this is my parents' faith, that's cool, wonderful, I'm going to follow this faith because it's my parents' faith. And I did have the challenge in college where it's like, okay, why do I believe? But I always was going to believe because that's where, but now this generation's like, no, prove it to me. Yeah. It's not enough to just say, okay, everybody believed, everybody, prove it to me. So that's what this generation is.
Definitely, and these new atheists are making really strong, charges against Christian faith
and strong arguments.
And they do it in a very slick, kind of vitriolic prose, and that's appealing to young people. And so, with folks like this, we need to know why. We believe, why we hold our beliefs. We need to understand why the Bible's reliable, why Jesus really did rise from the dead, because they will listen to arguments like that.
There is enough science. There's enough science to prove the Bible. I mean, it's not something we need to be afraid of. So what are the other types? You said there's different types.
Yeah. Well, going in the opposite direction, there's another type that I call postmodern believers. And these are people, they don't really care as much about reason and rationality and logic. And in fact, if you try to have a spiritual conversation with them and you're trying to prove things with logic, that's going to turn them off because they want to experience truth. And they have no problem with supernatural claims, but they do have a problem with exclusive supernatural claims. So when you start to say that Jesus is the only way, they might take exception to that. And what I tell people, if you have someone in your life like this, what you want to do is you want to talk about serving the least of these. Because there is one good thing about postmodernism, as much as we've railed against it, and that is that people that have a postmodern worldview really care about marginalized people. So they care about the homeless and the poor. So if your church is engaged in some activity like going down to the homeless shelter, invite them along. Invite them to belong before they believe. And you're going to have those tough conversations down the road with them about the exclusive claims of Christ.
That you're not just talking, you're not just preaching.
Exactly.
You're feeling, you're doing.
Yeah, and they need to know that it's something that you live out, and they want to experience that before they really investigate the intellectual claims.
One group that I've run into is a group called, they're like Rainbow Kids. They're called Rainbow Kids, and they get involved, and they're kind of like the hippies. They get into all this Wiccan stuff and things like that. Is that a group?
That is definitely a group, and that's what I call neo-pagans.
Okay.
And that's just a fancy way of saying this resurgence of pagan beliefs in the culture. I interviewed a lot of young women in particular that were into Wicca and had left the faith of their childhood or grown up in the church and had left for the Wiccan religion. But I'm also not just talking about people who cast spells and perform rituals. There are also people who, maybe they don't participate in those things, but they have what I call an essentially neo-pagan worldview. That is, they view the earth or the environment as the true source of spirituality. And they don't believe in a transcendent God that exists outside of nature. And we've seen this. I mean, just think of the movie Avatar. I'm not saying that's a bad film. I went and saw it.
I understand.
But it's a reflection of this kind of thinking. And
Native American thinking.
Animistic beliefs. And so, I think a lot of young people have kind of adopted that worldview.
His place.
Do you know that your morning cup of coffee can help clothe, feed, rescue, and care for the poorest of the poor? I know it may seem hard to believe, but it can happen. His Place and Kiva Han Coffee have joined forces to bring a special blend of coffee that will change the world. Hope Coffee is a direct trade coffee, which means that the families of the people who work hard on the coffee farms receive the funds directly from their harvest. In addition, the profits from Hope Coffee go to help rescue children in impoverished countries and bring the message of God's love to people all around the world. For a limited time, for your gift of $37, we'll send you as our thank you a His Place mug and a 12-ounce bag of Hope Coffee. Together, we're changing the world one life at a time through one cup of coffee at a time. Send your gift today.
His Place.
Okay. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's great. Thanks.
Don't look like it. Okay, so Tim wouldn't let me go home and get my keyboard, so I wanted to audition for you guys, but maybe sit in. So I don't know. Yeah. No. Well, check it out, because like a lot of musicians come in here, and sooner or later a band's gonna pick me up. You know what I mean? Because like I got a lot of potential. Not only do I play the keyboard,
Yeah.
but I write and I sing. I mean, I'm like
That's
that
cool.
all-around dude.
That's fun.
You know what? I got an idea. How about I get a tape of my stuff, like I record it, like original tunes. I mean, this is some really cool stuff. I'm talking about, like really cool. I get a lot of hits for the stuff I do. What do you think? Cool?
Yeah, definitely send it. I mean, we'll have to like give it to our manager.
Yeah. So what's your address? Yeah, I can put it in my phone.
Well, why don't you give us the tape?
Okay.
And then we'll get back to you. Because I'll contact the show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Two problems now. One is, okay, how do I reach these group of ex-Christians? And then how do I stop the ones, those teenagers that have gotten now in the church from becoming this group?
Yeah. Well, to your first question, I think, first of all, and I can't overstate this, we need to have relationships with these people that have walked away. It's easier sometimes as Christians to kind of lob rhetorical, give up or lob rhetorical grenades at them and kind of argue across a chasm. But that's never going to do it. We need to establish relationships with them, invest in their lives, and keep those lines of communication open. That's essential. And then once we do that, we need to listen to their stories. You know, when I sought out these people and listened to their story, and of course I was doing it as a journalist, so I wasn't going to argue with them. Right. I just got this sense that they softened at the end, and it was cathartic for them just to have someone listen to them. So I think being listened to is powerful. So we need to listen to them, do some detective work, try to find out exactly why they left the faith. Or why they've distanced themselves from the church. And then once we've identified, and that's really the purpose of this book, once we've identified those reasons, then we can specifically address them.
Doesn't it throw them off guard if they get the sense from me as a Christian or you as a Christian that you really do love them and are interested in them? Because is there a certain sense among them that, as a Christian, if I'm coming to them, all I want to do is convert them?
Yeah, that you're going to kind of come in firing answers at them, and it's disarming when instead you listen and you identify with some of the painful things they've been through perhaps, and even admit yourself that, hey, listen, I've had doubts, that this isn't something that just you are dealing with. That's very disarming and helpful and conducive for really meaningful conversations that often ultimately lead them home.
So what do I do with the teens and tweens that I've got now in my church to make sure that they don't become this ex-Christians?
Sure. I think we need to do something a little old-fashioned, and that's biblical education.
What a thought!
What a thought, right? And that was originally the purpose of youth ministry, right. Going back 100 years or more. But we've shifted away from that, and it's become kind of this model where we just want to entertain them and have them eat pizza and play video games, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it replaces biblical education and spiritual formation, we got a problem on our hands. I heard a Christian college professor recently say that when he asks his freshmen, who are all Christians, questions about certain doctrines like the Trinity, 95% of them answer in classical heresies. So they just don't know. They don't know church history, of course. They're even unfamiliar with basic tenets of Christian belief. So we need to do a better job. That's a real indictment of the church. We need to do a better job of, we're going to entertain them a bit and have them have a good time, but we also need to make sure that we're communicating the faith to them so that when they go off into the real world, they know how to defend their faith and they're not easily shaken. And then, of course, what happens in the church can't compare to what happens in the home. I think a lot of parents have this mentality that, hey, I'll drop my kid off at
Take him to church.
Let the professionals do it. Yeah. The pastor's going to make my kid into a good Christian. Well, that's not going to work. You can't compete with 2 hours with what goes on at home 24/7. So we need to realize that, hey, listen, we need to model a dynamic faith. I always say this to parents, if your faith is some kind of dry, dusty affair, don't expect your kids to have a vibrant, living faith. So we need to get serious about our own faith as adults, model that and teach it to kids. And so when they go off into the world, they have a solid basis for their beliefs.
There's been a trend in the 80s and early 90s. It was pretty prevalent. It seems to be dying down to kind of step away from from things like praying for your kids, you know, that this is spiritual warfare, that the walk is, what have you found?
Well, prayer is so important, you know, and people, and I think this goes back to the conversation about neo-paganism. People are thirsty for a real spirituality. I remember I had a neighbor, a 20-something neighbor who was a Wiccan, and we invited her to a prayer meeting. And I thought, oh, this is a bad idea. My wife wanted to do it. I thought she's going to be freaked out when she sees us praying.
A prayer meeting, yeah.
And it was kind of a passionate sort of prayer meeting. And we prayed for her. And at the end of the night, there were tears running down her face. And that was powerful for her. She didn't need to hear an argument for God's existence. She needed to see real, dynamic, vibrant spirituality.
How did she respond? Did somebody pray for her?
Someone prayed for her, and she came up at the end of the night, and she said, that was so meaningful. I haven't had someone pray for me like that. And that opened the door to all kinds of conversations about God. I remember when her grandfather passed away, she came over and wanted prayer. And it was just awesome. Whereas earlier when I'd kind of started debating with her, because that's kind of my tendency, you know, it was just kind of a closed door. Yeah. Absolutely not. Because she needed to see something like that. So, yeah, don't hesitate to show your spirituality. Another thing I tell people, enjoy your faith. Sometimes when someone that we know walks away from God, we get this kind of dour demeanor, because understandably we're concerned. But how can we expect them to want something that we don't appear to even enjoy?
Right.
So yeah, we need to enjoy our faith.
And it's planting seeds too. I'm sure you got to do that periodically. I got to check.
Hey, Tim, the band's ready.
Oh, they are? Okay. Good. Okay, you guys ready? Good. Oh, what?
Listen, you got to go talk to Phil, man.
I didn't even see he was here. He's here.
Yeah, he's been here. What are you, a bat?
Well, I've been busy. I got, you know, Laura's not here.
Listen, I'm telling you, shenanigans just shut down. I mean, anytime I try to say something to him, he gets all bent out of shape and starts yelling at me and everything else.
You know what? I hope that's not true, but, you know, I'll go talk to him. But you know what? Being you're here, I just had this great conversation. Remember a couple weeks ago, we were talking about your concern about your daughter going off to college?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And staying in the faith?
Right.
Drew has written this book about ex-Christians, about how people walk out and how to reach them. And one of the things that he says there is that, and you were saying that, you know, some of your daughter's friends have kind of walked away from the faith and things like that. One of the things that he says there is that what they want is for us to just listen to them. And then, you know, if you listen to them, you know, kind of honor them and then maybe see if they want prayer, you know, and so that's a way to kind of open the door. Because if it looks like you're kind of beating down the door on them to try to win them back to the faith or whatever, they're going to push away. Right. If you just kind of listen to them and be engaged in their lives and then, you know, maybe offer to pray for them. And I guess every kid that walks away is a little different. There's a bunch of different types of folks that walk away, but you know, it's
I
interesting.
love my job because I get to introduce the best music ever, even if they don't have a keyboardist. Anyway, please put your hands together for The Letter Black. All right. Woo.
Every day you accuse me, but I've done nothing wrong. You put me down like I'm the enemy. Why is it so hard for you? Why don't you understand? I'm not the one who's killing you. And all I want is for you to breathe me in again. Breathe me in again. And all I want to tell you is I love you. And all I want is for you to just believe in me. Just believe in me. Why won't you breathe me in? You take advantage of me, but I won't turn you down. Once you get what you want, you push me to the side. Why do you try to hurt me? It's only hurting you. I've always been right here waiting. And all I want is for you to breathe me in again. Breathe me in again. And all I want to tell you is I love you. And all I want
you think? What'd you think? Hey, you should see their videos, man. Unbelievable.
I did see. I thought the wall was going to catch on fire.
No, it's good stuff. Well, they do have a new video called Fire with Fire. It's really cool stuff.
We got to buy that.
Good stuff. And yeah, and they're a local band.
Well, that's
And
cool.
they're like big. They're on MTV. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
now
they're everywhere.
on his place. They're going to go worldwide.
Well, hey,
now.
yeah, you know, they come in here, then they must be great.
Right,
You know,
I'm telling you.
if I get them in here, they got to be top notch. They got to be the
Ed
best.
Sullivan show.
That's it. You know, you got it, man. You got it.
We're all hoping you'll stop by. So come on in and find a friend to help you on your way. Pull up a chair and find his care. We'll be here every day in his place. Ba-ba-da-da, his place, his place.
All right, thank you for tuning in to His Place, another great program. Hey, if you want to pick up a copy of Generation X Christian, Why Young Adults Are Leaving the Faith and How to Bring Them Back, you can go to, I'm sure, Amazon.com or all those other places. Go to hisplace.tv and find out more information about Drew. Also, the Letter Black are going to be back with us. More music. The Letter Black. It's going to be a great show. You find out all about them, get to see one of their latest video, and also hear some more great music. We'll see you next time on His Place.